moving forward, we've got Dave Connors, who's the VP of Operations at Constant Contact. And Constant Contact has been around since 2000. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so talk
Sure.
to us.
Yeah, so we're a little different situation. We've been online since 2000, established business, and we've evolved over time. Our real focus is on small business, providing them the online marketing tools they need, self-service marketing tools they need. Have to make it real easy to use because these businesses are very small. 70% are 10 or fewer employees, right?
So 70% of your customers,
Yeah,
your employees.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very small businesses and associations. About 500,000 paying customers. So it's an established business, about $200 million run rate. And over time, we started with email marketing, we added survey, we had event management, and now we've started to add social media and integrate social media into their marketing efforts. And the challenges around that are, well, first of all, the business model is very low cost, right? It's $15 a month, a lot of customers pay. And it's sending email and tracking email and survey and event is, very database intensive, a couple million transactions a second. And we have a traditional data store serving that historically, IBM DB2 relational database. And it's done a great job for us. And it worked, the business model worked. Then we started looking into integrating social media marketing and started looking at the data and the business rules with the data. We retain typically email marketing detailed information for 90 days. Social media, out of the gate, we're penciling in about 2 years. So whole different set of business rules. Also much more unstructured and a lot more of it. A lot more channels, that customers want to integrate. So we estimate about 100 times more data we have to manage for them. And we have to do that cost effectively. So that was a big challenge for us. So next slide. In the challenge, I'll talk a couple aspects of the challenge. Right out of the gate, the number one challenge was we knew how to do things. I think Mike was talking about, they had a solution set, right? If you're going to do this, here's your Voldemort, here's your services that use Mongo to do that. And we had our tech stack and our standard services, and if you were going to do a development feature, you'd use them. And then we started to look at NoSQL, and it's like, well, geez, the way you look at data from your application, it really stands on its head. The way you manage the data, like what is the role of a DBA in a NoSQL database? Really interesting. We have a whole group that does database administration. And to be honest, to this day, we're still trying to figure out what the role of a DBA is managing NoSQL. There is something about managing your overall data model and providing expertise and consistencies, but it's a real challenge culturally. And then the newer companies today that are starting up in the cloud, whatever, developers are a lot closer to operations, but if you've been in business a while, development and operations are two different worlds. And when you get into the NoSQL world, that line blurs a lot too. So we ended up kind of pairing together a hybrid team, and the developers actually took on monitoring, and the operations team took on the logging solution. So in the case of monitoring, we hadn't used Moonin before. We went with the Moonin solution. Why? Because the community was already contributing to it. And that's another interesting theme throughout this. And we heard a little bit about one type of support. We use data stacks for support for Cassandra database. But there's also the community support is really, really important in all of the technology we're talking about today. So that's why we actually changed it, implemented a brand new monitoring system just because the community was adding to it, richly creating in that area, and we just piggyback on that, ride that wave. And Scribe is, just high volume logging, right? It's interesting as you scale, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but syslog just breaks. It's just amazing how quickly that breaks. And There's a lot of other tools out there that are real interesting. Flume's another one, emerging tool. We went with Scribe in this case. Next slide. The other thing, and I think, is it Warren or whatever was talking about this, is the migrating. So we've actually moved some of our traditional data to Cassandra NoSQL. And how do we do that? Well, you set up, all sorts of controls around it. You want to have the ability to switch in and out of it. You want to be able to dial up volume. You want to be able to change different attributes. And you want to be able to do it in parallel and then cut over and manage it all live with no downtime. And that was a real interesting aspect of the project, and it's gone really well for us. We've been able to do it seamlessly without users. Nobody knows that it's going on. And we just take our time with it. We measure, ramp up data a little bit, see a little anomaly, ramp it back down. I think Mike or somebody was talking about degrading, how you degrade or handle load spikes is really important, and Cassandra's done a great job for that. If we see the load increasing a little bit, we back it off a little bit, add capacity, turn it back on. So that's worked out really well for us. So there are a lot of methods, there's a lot of support out there in the community and among other folks that have done it on how to roll this and integrate it, evolve it successfully.